Here we go.
Boom, 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 boom.
Boom.
Hey, man.
Not so shabby. Not so
Not too
shabby.
shabby.
Not
We're
too
figuring
shabby.
this thing out. Hey, it looks like we're in different worlds. You're
We are.
you're
But
cold and it's hot here.
it's just different hats. That's all.
Let's see what do you have under your hat.
No. Under my hat is just a little bit of hair. That's all.
Yeah, you got
But
eggs for the morning breakfast.
but last like a couple weeks ago we had
Yeah.
a severe storm in
Hmm.
pretty much all the central south part of the country. It was
Yeah, you
huge
mentioned that.
for
Yeah.
several days. It was very bad. And now
Yeah.
there is no rain. It's freezing outside.
Oh no.
It's sunny, which is
Hmm.
something that I like, but it's freezing. So that's why
Mm.
I'm wearing this.
Or not.
And by the way, I'm in the kitchen because I'm taking care of my beans today. Today,
It's bean day.
yeah. Today is bean
Well,
day.
at least I know you're not starving down there.
No, I'm
There's
not. I'm not.
some of my friends from around the world have contacted me. I guess people think that Texas is just like one city, and so if Texas is experiencing weather, they assume that we are. But ironically, Austin has been beautiful the last couple of days. I know there's a storm that kind of came up
Yeah.
the coast of Mexico, came through the Caribbean, and came up the coast of Mexico. But somehow we managed to get through it, so it's no big deal. So
Yeah.
I've got a million things to do today. Let's make
I
this quick
know.
if we
I
can.
know.
We got a bunch of stuff we got going on. Yeah, Sunday was sort of a new chapter for us. It's certainly the beginning of a preaching series, and I wonder already, is it the beginning of a series as much as it's the beginning of a new awareness that might take us well beyond just the summer?
Uh,
And put a tremendous amount of work and research into that sermon, and to be honest, got about 10 minutes in and thought, I blew it. No one's tracking. No one cares. That's the preacher's worst nightmare. You spend 30 hours that week preparing 3,000 words to deliver in 30 minutes, and you get halfway in, and people are like yawning and wondering what's for lunch. So I don't know. We're awful quiet folk at ANC, as you know. But I think we are resonating with a sector of Christians here in America, certainly in Austin, maybe you could say in the West in general, that are frustrated with the long-standing complicity of faith communities and what I would call a total disregard of nature as a player in the redemptive work of God in the world.
mm,
We just have not thought through what we're using, consuming, what we're burning up, what we're not replacing. We just haven't thought it through. And
right.
the faith that we were given uh, taught us that there's another world we're going to go to. So don't worry about this one. There's a better one. There's a hot one if you don't get it right. But there's this other world that we get to go to, and there's an elevator system, and it's called the rapture, and it's going to
We
happen
we are
right
we are just
time.
yeah. It's like we are just pilgrims on the earth.
That's right.
So it's
We
like
are just.
there
That's right.
we
Yeah.
belong to another kingdom
That's right. That's
over
right.
there. Right.
Yeah, and to be clear, there are texts in Scripture that seem to suggest that sort of fatalistic, apocalyptic way of seeing the world. Now,
Right.
apocalyptic literature is not new to humanity, right? So I think, the apocalyptic mindset of a people group in the first century and even years and years before, under great cultural duress, trying to figure out a way to eke out a living in the Fertile Crescent. We're talking about the Hebrew people. I can understand, given the realities of their existence and how precarious it was to sort of figure out where they fit in those economies of, Babylon and Persia and Egypt and all I understand the apocalyptic thinking, and we've outgrown it. It hasn't helped us. The same biblical writers who tell us that we are not of this world, we're going to another world, are the ones who say, don't get married because the earth is not going to
Right.
last longer than this
Yeah.
generation. So I think it's time. I think what we're tapping into, and what we certainly hope to tap into, for those of you who aren't in Austin but are following from afar, I want to tap into a long-standing frustration that we've all had, that has been telling us for a very long time that we can do better than just pass out tickets to another world. First of all, we don't know anything about that other world. Second of all, if we put everything we've ever heard written or said about it, it doesn't amount to much. So what are we doing burning this place up in hopes that we're going to go somewhere where the seas are made of crystal and the streets are made of gold? Are we really going to take mystical renderings of ancient poets and create new worlds out of that when the world that we can observe with our five senses is crying out for relief? Are we really going to ignore that and give
Right.
ourselves a pass, a ticket to a better world, a better world? I don't know how we got here, and I don't know that we're going to right all the wrongs, but
You
it's
know,
time we have an honest conversation.
when you talk about the apocalyptic apocalyptic apocalyptic
Apocalyptic.
apocalyptic sorry,
Yeah.
apocalyptic vision of the world, the eschatology, all of that,
Yeah.
I think oftentimes I think is I understand the
Yeah.
apocalyptic thing. I mean, it's a literature for a specific time and a
Correct.
specific condition. It's oppression.
Correct.
You need to see beyond the things that you are looking. You need to
Yeah.
see that someone else higher is in control of everything, even though the empire looks like it's in control. But I think apocalyptic literature, um, and I'm sorry because what about because what about to say right
What
now,
you,
I
what you're
think
about to say? Yeah.
is there's a lack of imagination. Let me explain that. Lack of imagination in this sense is this is so bad. The only solution is this to
Burn.
burn and let's start again. It's like
Hmm.
a new flood story. This is so bad. Let's kill everybody and let's start again. But the lesson in the Bible is even though if you start again, things are going to be messier than before. I mean, every time because it's something in our nature. I don't know, but we need to think in different scenarios for our
Yeah.
life, for the life of the planet, rather
Yeah.
than this is going to explode.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. We do. And here's the argument that I'm making. And as I look back over the last several years, I think I've been setting foundation stones for this argument. While many of the people, I would say, in the millennial generation, the generation of my daughters, of my kids, right, in 20s and 30s, many of those people have walked away from Christianity because of Christianity's silence on all of what's going on related
mhm.
to sort of the economy and ecology and the natural world. They're walking away from faith because of its silence. I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying in our Christian faith, we have sufficient raw material to work with to help us address not only a climate that's in crisis, but the underlying issues. You see, if we were able to reverse the effects of the damage we've done to the ozone by extracting the energy we're addicted to, if we
Right.
could close the ozone and reverse those effects, we've still not addressed the problem until we've addressed the heart. Here's my thing as a Christian. Jesus has plenty to say about greed, plenty to say about violence. He has plenty to say. He nearly says, he almost says nothing outside of attaching it to the natural order, to the natural world, right? Every example he seems to he roots in things we can touch and things we can smell and taste, things that
Mm,
are around us.
mm.
So Christianity, much like other faith systems, has sufficient underpinnings for us to stand on and say, even if we manage to, through technology, repair the damage we're causing, or even if we move to higher ground, or even if we build bioregionally specific sort of food-centered, water-centered economies, even if we do that, greed and hate and all of these things still need to be addressed. And so
Right.
I've read a whole bunch of stuff the last couple of weeks that, it goes a bunch of directions. Some of it is like, forget faith communities. They're inert and they're impotent. They've never produced people who care about the earth. But
Which is something that is
it
true
is very,
in some areas.
true.
Yeah.
But you've got to
Sadly.
stand somewhere. You've got to stand somewhere in
Sure.
something from which to do good work. And I think this is as good a place as any. I was in a conversation just the other day with Zach Lambert, a great pastor here in town. He was asking me about being Methodist, right? And so is Methodism a good enough place to begin from which to do this kind of work?
Mm.
And what do you think my answer is? Of course it is. Of course it is. Now, Will we stand on the mystical traditions of our faith and do good work? Will we do that with good Buddhists and good Catholics and good Jewish folk and good atheists and good science? Of course we will. Of course we will. I think you can stand almost anywhere and be honest about what's going on. The question is, can we address the issues that make us accept this message that we have to always have more, produce more, consume more, purchase more? This whole system hinges on our willingness to believe that more is necessary. And I think the message of Jesus helps us understand that more is not essential.
Mm.
This moment is what we have. We don't need more. How are you ever going to outdress the lilies of the field or outshine the sparrows of the air? How are you ever going to, through consuming more, propel yourself to a place any higher than you already are in the sort of hierarchy of beauty and dignity in the world? So that's what we're after. It's ambitious. I get
It
it. Not
is.
everyone's going to be a big fan. It's
And
okay. Everyone's in Oklahoma anyway.
and you
Everyone
know,
everyone's up in the mountains of Colorado trying to get away from the heat that we've created anyhow. So we'll be fine.
and you know, especially, yeah. I mean, I think I always thought that ANC is a great ground to plant those seeds, and in this case, probably the seeds were already there.
Yeah.
People is aware about the environment. People is aware about the problem that we have with ecology and all that. But you know, it's a hard message because we are driven by a culture that everything is about to consume more.
Yeah.
And if you want to find happiness, you need more. You need more stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not enough the things that you have. Even though a week ago it was enough, but now
Yeah.
it's a new model. It's a new thing. It's a
Yeah.
new trend. You need that thing, and that causes our planet to bleed out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So here's the truth. I'm going to hide this at the very end here, and we're going to jump off and we get back into the books and back into the sermon writing, the post office and the bank and all the things. Here's the truth. Um, the earth has the capacity to right the wrong, meaning if we need to go extinct for the atmosphere to readjust, that's what will happen. And this is
yeah,
where our inflated view of where we sit in the hierarchy of value in God's world, this is where we're going to have a quick awakening. The earth knows how to reclaim, it knows how to clean and scrub. What it can't do is replenish things that are being endlessly emptied, right? It can't do that unless it removes us. And so I'm attracted to some degree to the kind of writing that is honest about the question that perhaps the best thing for the environment right now is fewer people. Now, that's super scary for a lot of folks. I don't want to be one of those people, but the reality is, the reality is, here's the sad reality, and this shouldn't surprise us. We should know this by now. The sad reality is the people who are going to pay the biggest price for this are the poor.
right.
The poor and the disenfranchised and those who already are struggling to get by, they'll be the first
And you
to
know
suffer.
that happened with pandemic. That happened with
Yep.
pandemic. The
Yeah.
the greatest damage was
Mortality. Yep. Yep.
mortality was among that people without
Yep.
resources. People, yeah, it is a
Well,
very sad
here,
reality.
here we are. We're going to plow into this. We're going to just figure out what do the roots of our faith have to say about endless consumption, about endless economic growth. You know, all of our people say, well, we live at a relatively high ground. Sea rise is not going to affect us. We're going to be fine. Well, here's the caveat to that. If financial systems begin to fail because growth is, let's say, for example, the parts of the world that produce the junky products that we feel like we have to be happy, right? We go to
Right.
work to get money to buy junk. Those parts of the world, let's say we alter the climate so much that monsoonal patterns begin to change, and all of the world that's got big factories full of people that build our widgets, those begin to fail, and the water begins to rise. Or let's say, just for example, that happens. If our financial systems fail, we're going to have to reconceive of our lives because we're going to have to get closer to the earth that produces the food and the water we need to survive.
Right.
I'm sitting in downtown Austin looking at this fast evolving skyline. Caesar, when you come back to Austin next, I promise you, you're not even going to recognize the skyline. It's going up so fast. You can walk down the same street 6 months later and not recognize the skyline. It doesn't make sense to live that way or to build that way. It's not sustainable if all of us have to get closer to where food is produced. So financial systems, you might say, well, sea level rise is not going to affect us. Yeah, but if the financial systems fail, we're all going to be affected. And then we're going to have to figure out, what do we eat? How do we balance? Right. And in the end, the question will be the same. What does contentment look like? What does courage look like? What does love look like? What does it look like to make room for the refugee and the neighbor? What does it look like to be present in the moment? All of the great mystical pieces of faith are still going to come to play, no matter how we configure whatever sort of society has to adjust. But trust me, the earth knows how to right wrongs, and that's a really unpopular thing to say. But the good writers are beginning to address it. So anyway, frightening stuff. Here we are.
It was a great sermon. And I'm sure that it will be a very nice series. So
we'll see.
I'm glad that you're facing the subject.
Well, if we manage to survive it, we'll keep you posted. But hey, my love to the family. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys down there.
Love you too.
Yeah. Be well. We'll see you next time.